We have a Hulk.
Although I'm somebody who actively keeps up with the MCU, I've never really felt the need to consume every single bit of content related to the franchise. To this day, I still haven't seen Thor 1 or 2, nor have I seen either of the Ant-Man movies. I've never really felt like I'm missing much by just watching 95% of the content instead of the full 100, and with how popular Marvel is, I still consume that last 5% just by being around other people who have seen it. I originally had no intention of watching She-Hulk, let alone making a video on it. Nothing about it really caught my interest. It seemed like just another Marvel show. Nothing special, but also nothing awful. Just standard mediocrity. Mid, if you will. But then I made the mistake of opening Twitter. Hey, follow me by the way. And people were either acting like this show was the second coming of Infinity War, or acting like it killed their firstborn child. The two groups were largely divided on the basis of sex, with the extreme end of one side wishing death upon all men, and the other side had
Bro, what movie? What like fucking movie, you know, like fucking Marvel or DC movie had a female main character, like movie, you know, or like, you know, TV series. Had a female main character and it was actually good though. Like genuinely, what movie? Like, for example, Marvel. That fucking sucked. Like whenever I see like female like fucking superheroes in a movie, they would always make them look more badass than every guy. It's fucking stupid. They're like trying so fucking hard. And like in like She-Hulk especially, like they literally did nothing to show. Like I haven't watched. I just like saw some scenes, but like they've literally done nothing at all to try to show why She-Hulk is, you know, like such a great character. Basically, there is something called tell, don't show, or show, don't tell. And it's much better to go for the second option than the first one, because it looks way better. Because like, but they went for the first one, which is basically they said all the great things that she is without even showing it in the slightest. Like instead of saying, "Hey bro, I can pull 600 pounds. Why don't you just put him in front of me?" What's better? You know,
for males taking a break from popping the reddest of pills and topping off Top G to do a little misogyny. And all of these heated arguments were primarily focused around a single scene in the first episode. I had to see what all the fuss was about, so I checked it out. If you're looking for somebody who's gonna mindlessly shit on the show because #woke, you won't find that here.
#girlboss.
But if you want to take a deeper look into She-Hulk and why just the first 30 minutes of the series has been so polarizing, let's dive into the first episode. Jennifer Walters, our titular She-Hulk, is a lawyer and cousin to Bruce Banner. We know this because she tells us. No, literally, she looks at the camera where some of Bruce's blood enters her bloodstream through an
also this makes no sense.
Open wound. She wanders to a nearby bar and tries to get cleaned up. When leaving the bar, she gets hit on by a group of guys and hulks out before Bruce knocks her out to prevent her from catching a triple homicide. When Jennifer finally comes...
That scene was what I was talking about earlier when I said that she's just like saying shit and like she's like constantly lying. She said that she gets catcalled. She did not get catcalled. Literally, a guy just asked her name. He was literally, "Hey, what's your name?" I'm sorry, yeah, it is probably annoying, but like, firstly, you're in like what looks like a fucking wacky part of the city. I'm gonna be honest, you're dressed as a the way you're dressed is like, you know, kind of how do I say it without getting banned? It's not very appropriate, let's say. It's not very appropriate. And you expect no fucking crackheads on that street to like not even like try to talk to you. And the moment they spoke to her, she's like, "No, I'm just like gonna make them catch these hands," and almost murders 3 of them for literally asking her name.
She's in Bruce's beach bar laboratory, and it's here that the iconic scene takes place. He brought Jennifer here to isolate her. After years of wrestling for control of his own body against a dangerous alter ego capable of...
But I really hate like that specific part about She-Hulk is that since getting the power, she can completely control him and be conscious. Bruce had to go through all this shit, but she's like, you know, a girl. She's a girl boss, so she's like better than him in literally every fucking aspect, apparently, that they show.
Planetary devastation. He's seen the kind of damage that can cause, and he doesn't want that for his cousin. Bruce has already been through it all, documented every single step of his journey. There is literally no one better suited to helping Jennifer with what she's going through than Bruce.
But she doesn't want to,
she's
because girl
not too
boss.
thrilled about suddenly having her life uprooted and forced into an anime training arc, but she reluctantly agrees to let Bruce guide her. He begins training her both mentally and physically, and she excels at everything. She can transform in and out of her Hulk form at will. She's a natural at using her newfound superhuman strength. She's got perfect grades in every class and is steady on her way to...
Of course, she needs to be better. That's what I'm saying, bro. Like, whenever they introduce like a fucking female superhero, they gotta be the best. They gotta be the best in what they're doing. That's what I fucking hate.
Graduating from Hulk Academy.
How are we supposed to feel attached to someone who's just good from the beginning? Who's just being manipulated for lies and it's just like, you know, talented. Why should I be, you know, attracted to them than to someone who's like actually putting the work in? We see how much they struggle and all the problems they have to go through.
Turn to her normal life.
Her biggest problem is literally herself. She gets angry for no fucking reason and lies to everyone.
But Bruce urges her to continue training. He reminds her of the great responsibility that comes with her great power, and questions what she'll do with it. A question that she herself posed in the opening lines of the episode.
What is the responsibility of those with power? Do they merely have an obligation to refrain from the misuse of that power? Or do they have a duty to protect?
Yes? Bro, just because I can lift more than anyone and I can fight doesn't mean that I should like go around beating up people. I'm stronger than them. Does that mean that I should walk over everyone? No.
Protect those without it.
Yes, just because you're stronger than most people, it doesn't mean that it excuses you and it really makes you any different. There's wall and there's things that everyone has agreed on. So it's
Bruce
fair for
has
everyone.
first-hand experience with the difficulties that come with a power like theirs, and wants to be absolutely certain that Jennifer is equipped to handle any challenges that may come up. Which brings us to everyone's favorite scene.
Well, here's the thing, Bruce. I'm great at controlling my anger. I do it all the time.
No, she doesn't. I haven't even watched the show. As I said, I haven't even watched the show. I've just seen some scenes that I do just from the beginning of the show. She cannot control her anger. Imagine getting asked about your name and you try to murk these people.
When I'm catcalled in the street,
Catcalled? By who?
when incompetent men explain my own area of
Incompetent man, bro. Guy was making a joke and you straight up just kicked him out of your office without him even like, you know, saying anything.
expertise to me. I do it pretty
Also, I'm pretty sure he was like a senior to her. So
much
like,
every day, because if I don't, I will get called emotional or difficult, or I might just literally get murdered. So I'm an expert at controlling my anger because I do it infinitely more than you. So all of this just feels like projecting a lot of shit onto me.
look at that smile. Look at that fucking smile. He knows she's just saying some bullshit, man. What do you mean you're infinitely better at managing your anger? Bruce had to go through like the worst shit that you can possibly imagine, like half of the planet getting erased, fighting like so fucking much, fighting fucking like, you know, Hulk on the inside so he can take control. He was chased by the government for years trying to get killed with no friends. He was completely alone the whole time. And you're saying that you want the one managing your anger better? And as she's saying it, she's just getting angry.
On the surface, there's nothing wrong with the things that she brings up. It's what came immediately after that caused so much controversy. You see, Jennifer just decided to play a game called the Oppression Olympics, the Misfortune Matches, the Tribulation Tournament, if you will.
Basically had to make herself seem like the victim. And as if like, you know, she's obviously doing better than her, because she's a woman, like hashtag girl boss.
It's the
Bro, I'm probably gonna like put a fucking hashtag girl boss on my video.
never-ending competition between groups of people to determine who suffers the most. The need to validate one's own problems by constantly one-upping someone else's. To which I ask, why are we comparing two bad bitches? No, when I say bad, I literally mean bad. Like, all of these things are awful, and comparing them doesn't help anyone.
New card. What do you think?
Whoa, very nice. Look at that.
It's very cool, Bateman, but that's nothing. Look at this.
That is really nice.
You haven't
Facts.
seen nothing, man.
Shit. Right.
White.
Oh,
Impressive. Very nice.
that's good shit. Hate
That's
crimes.
Paul Allen's card.
Oh,
Look at that subtle off-white coloring. The tasteful thickness of it. Oh my god.
Jennifer mentioned some valid reasons as to why she might get angry and why she has to manage that anger, and then completely derails her point to shit on Bruce for no reason.
So I'm an expert at controlling my anger
No,
because
you're
I
not.
do it infinitely more than you.
No, no,
that's what I'm saying. Like, she's still doing the fucking tell don't show. Why don't you show yourself actually managing your anger better than Bruce? Why not? You're so good at it, it should be easy. When it turns out you're doing the opposite and you're, like, not managing your fucking anger and transform into She-Hulk.
That's not why. That had nothing to do with your point. Bruce has done nothing but try to help her out of fear of her Hulk powers destroying her life. Fear
Yeah.
born from seeing what those same powers have done to his own.
Yeah, Bruce has been through too much shit because of his powers. He just wants to protect her, but she is, being a girl boss, so she does whatever she wants. She can't be told. She can't be told what to do by a man.
Life, having his relationships ruined and being hunted by the government,
Yep.
growing close to a new group of people but ultimately being a liability and a danger to them. He's incredibly strong but is also a loose cannon. Shit, I mean, villain causes Hulk to go on a rampage is such a reliable strategy that they used it 2 films in a row. He puts himself under intergalactic quarantine.
That's what I really hated, bro. What was this shit with Black Widow? There was literally nothing between them, but they had to, like, put it so she's, like, more important, so she's, like, the only one who can calm her, even though they have nothing in common, pretty much. And it was never explored any further. It was just, like, Hulk just sees her eyes. He's like, okay, I'm going to do whatever this assassin tells me, because nice eyes.
So he doesn't deal any
I don't get why they did this. Like, bro, it was like one of the biggest shits in this movie.
more damage to the Earth, and is
I also
enslaved
hated
for
it.
2 years, forced to fight as a gladiator for people's entertainment. The Hulk suffers a crushing defeat at the hands of Thanos, and is given a permanent reminder of his failures when half of the universe is snapped out of existence. Oh, and he tried to kill himself.
In case you needed to kill me, but you can't. I know, I tried.
Some people have also brought up things canon to the comics, such as the abuse Bruce suffered as a child, and how his father killed his mother, but that feels like really reaching to prove a point. Disney and Marvel are known to change things in the MCU, so it wouldn't
What was this shit with Black Widow? I
really
still
make
don't
sense
get
to
it.
compare across universes. Besides, the films already give more than enough to drive the point home. Bruce Banner has been through a lot. Whether it's more or less than Jennifer has gone through isn't
By the way, it still doesn't make sense how in this scene, like, Bruce is like, do you know how good the Hulk regeneration is? You can literally cut his arm off in like a minute. He's gonna regenerate. How did he get in a car crash and he ended up so bad? Like, it was still stated that he tried to kill himself, and he was fine. So how is that a problem? Also, I love how, like, she's obviously the one who's fine, so she can be the one saving the day.
relevant. There's absolutely nothing to be gained by comparing them,
Even though he has Hulk, she doesn't have
much
it.
less trivializing
She
one.
seems fine
And for
while
those
he's
saying
hurt
that she
somehow.
isn't invalidating Bruce's
If Bruce could be killed in a normal car crash, then how did he fight in Endgame? How did he fight anywhere? If he can just be
struggles,
killed so easily.
she's just expressing her own are simply wrong. I don't know how else to say it, but there's no world in which you tell somebody that you do something infinitely more than them and are not trying to belittle that person. Beyond just drawing a line between Bruce and Jennifer, the show also very clearly creates a divide between men and women. Up until this point, aside from Bruce, the only other men that we've seen
Girl boss.
have solely existed to illustrate the problems that Jennifer brings up. The first guy that we see views Jennifer as incompetent and tells her that she should just let a man handle the job. The second group of men catcall and harass her.
Yep, that's like the funny thing,
That she should just
She
let a
said that
man
she's getting harassed, and basically, like, this guy was like kind of being an ass. So she just like talked him off, and he just went away. It was literally like the easiest shit,
handle the job. The
because she's so good at it. Like, she can just talk anyone out and just, like, shut them up, and they can't say anything.
Second group of men catcall and harass her. That's the extent of their existence. They weren't characters, just vehicles for depicting the ultimate villain of this show. What her problem of this show?
Bro, this reminds me, if you guys have seen like on TikTok and shit, where there's like girls that are just like, you know, trying to flex, you know, but they're just like, you know, making fun of bodybuilders, and they're like, man, be like, just like, wait. You know what I mean? It literally reminds me exactly of them.
What her problems aren't the problem. It's how they're presented. Unsurprisingly, it's gonna be pretty hard to get a lot of people invested in a character's struggles when she opens up by alienating
When she doesn't-
one, two.
When she doesn't have any struggles. What are her struggles? What? Like, yeah, it's hard to care about a character who's literally just like, you know, perfectly fine from the beginning.
Or literally half of the entire world's population. Imagine if the scene had
Yeah.
gone something more like this. Bruce, I do control my anger. Just because I didn't turn into a big green monster every time I got upset doesn't mean I've never had to watch my emotions. I've had to work just as hard, if not harder than everyone else to get where I am, and I will still have my skill and credibility called into question on the basis of nothing more than my gender. Do you know what it's like to constantly be made to feel lesser than? To be hit on, feel unsafe, and not be able to act out because you have no idea what might happen to you if you do. Bruce, I may not have been a Hulk for the past decade, but I don't need to know how to control my anger. But I'm not a scriptwriter.
Bro, what this guy just said is like infinitely times more deeper. I was like genuinely just listening to this. It was like genuinely like so much deeper and just like so better written in general. She's not like, you know, projecting us. She's not like, you know, projecting so much. She's not being like, I'm better than you. Specifically, even though you've been through all of this shit, she's just gonna like, you know, be saying pretty much as he said that she just been through a lot of stuff. She didn't have to get angry, and you know, disprove the point that she can completely manage her anger. And yeah, like
The scene remains.
I don't get like how is the writing of this movie so bad? Like I genuinely feel like she's just supposed to be one of those, you know, like feminists who's like, you know, I'm better than all men. You know, the kind that I'm talking about.
More or less the same, but with a lot
It feels like that's how the movie's supposed to be portrayed. Just to appeal to women.
less of the whole demonizing everything with
Who obviously
peace.
don't care about
when
stories.
I first saw the scene, I actually assumed that they were estranged cousins, and so Jennifer didn't know much about what Bruce had been through. But,
Really? Oh, so you didn't wind up alone? Hiding away on some remote beach with no friends, no relationships, never seeing your family, and definitely not dealing with a decade's worth of trauma?
yeah, she knows exactly what he's been through. She just doesn't seem to give a shit, making the
Yep.
dialogue all the more damaging. But even if she didn't know, much like how those female
Imagine how Bruce feels though. Like behind that fucking smile. Like honestly, imagine you're in his place and you hear your cousin say that after you're like desperately trying to help them. Because you've been through the same shit and you don't want them to go through that shit that you went through. You're like just trying to help them, but they're just being such a fucking asshole. And just devaluating all the stuff that you've been through.
experience
I honestly not understand how you can be like such a nice person that you would want to help them. Look at this man's face. He literally looks fucking destroyed on the inside.
as she mentioned, maybe
Bro, look at
foreign
these
to
eyes.
Bruce, men have their own challenges that are unique to them. Men are known to suffer in silence because they lack
Yeah, wasn't there like a woman who went undercover as a man for 2 years, but she only lasted 18 months? You know, she was like extreme feminist, so she went undercover. Like, you know, as a man. And just because of like the way she was being mistreated by women, and you know the way that other people were treating her, like she was so fucking bad that she had to give up at 18 months because she was literally starting to hate women. Extreme feminists were starting to hate women just because she tried to be a man. That's a person who understood us. And do you know what happened with her? She wrote a book about it, and recently, sadly, she she ended herself with assisted, you know. But like, I honestly respect that. Like, she had the courage to, you know, come and try what it's like to be a man, and she understood how hard it was. Especially, I assume, like, especially for women who are in general, you know, who feel more, for women who are like, you know, more who have more sympathy and shit like this. I don't know how to really say it. I'm sorry about this. You know, for women who are usually more emotional, to be a man, it would be even harder than it is for us. So I can understand, if anything, why she would end it.
The proper outlets to deal with those emotions. It's no surprise that they take their own life at a significantly higher rate. From a young age,
about
they
1
hear
per 13
things
minutes.
like, "You shouldn't cry. Aren't you a man?" They're discouraged from liking anything that could even remotely be perceived as feminine, out of fear of everyone going,
You're gay! He's gay!
Yeah, I'm gay.
I'm not gay. He's gay!
There's constant pressure for men to adhere to a certain image of masculinity, and anyone who deviates is no longer a man. This image is perpetuated by men and women.
That's what I hate, by the way. Like, there's a lot of people in the gym community, especially around, you know, like, people that are worshipping this as a god, who are making those videos like, oh, men back then were compared to men now, men are not men now. Bro, just because a guy wears a dress, it does not make him any less of a man. Like, firstly, like, I don't think these people realize that dress were firstly meant for men. Have you heard of a fucking cult? Dresses were actually firstly made for men, but just women start wearing them more. Like, I kind of hate that community, like, a part of it. That's like genuinely toxic, because like most of those videos that are like, you know, men compared to then compared to now, are most to, you know, like, motivate you if you're that kind of person to, you know, start going to the gym. And they don't usually have bad intentions, but a lot of people that actually watch these videos genuinely believe this shit, and they think that going to the fucking Second World War would be genuinely better than wearing a dress or literally just straight up being yourself. That's what I honestly hate about this.
Women alike. I'm a 6'2" black male, and I'm willing to bet that the last image that comes into your mind when you heard that description is me opening up about my feelings and crying. There's
I wouldn't mind, bro. If you want, I can hug you.
this fairly recent push for men to be more open, with the ridiculous tagline, "Vulnerability is sexy." But the moment that they do, that vulnerability is often taken and
You should know who you should open up to. You shouldn't open just to anyone, even if they're a friend. You really gotta be sure that they're gonna be there for you. Which a lot of people are not gonna be, just because of today's society. It's honestly so sad. Even women would make fun of you. A lot of them. I've had to deal with shit like this. It honestly sucks balls. But let's continue.
against them.
I'm
During
getting
the Me Too
emotional.
movement, when Terry Crews publicly spoke about being assaulted, a large portion of people mocked him. They questioned how someone built like this could let that happen to him. He should
Bro, it doesn't matter. Bro, you can be fucking Chris Bumstead, you can get assaulted. You can be Eddie Hall, you can get assaulted. That being assaulted does not specifically mean that you have to be, you know, like, fucking grabbed by the hands and, you know, someone's like starts groping you. That's not what it means.
have reacted with
People
violence.
seriously need to start understanding this. And also, if he was being assaulted by a woman and he was to, you know, like, slap her or, like, you know, push her back, who do you think the blame is gonna go on to? Do you think that people are gonna step behind Terry, who's a male, who's also buffed, or they're gonna step behind a female who's weak? She can't do anything, can she?
Because that's how a man handles things. Men are also affected by the toxic masculinity that Jennifer so clearly hates, but it seems like she can't spare a single ounce of empathy for her cousin. Just because someone suffers differently doesn't mean that they suffer any less.
Buddy.
When a friend of mine was asked how she feels about the phrase, "men are trash," she wasn't any less.
This scene sounds fucking sad. Looking at it. It honestly kind of reminds you of me. Just like, you know, staying alone in the dark. Just completely alone without anyone.
When a friend of mine was asked how
Like,
she feels
honestly,
about
this should actually, like, legit reminds me of me. And not only because I have, like, very wide back.
the phrase, "men are trash," she responds with, "Yeah, I say it sometimes, like when a friend is going through a breakup and I'm
Give it
trying to
head.
lift her up." To which I ask, where is the lifting up in that statement? Is it really only possible to lift someone up by knocking someone else down? No. Hell no. But it's something that's been so heavily baked into everyone's vocabulary. You can't be pro-black without being anti-white. You can't be an ally unless you got a bone to pick with every cishet white male. You can't play League of Legends without being a disappointment to your family.
The last one is completely true.
Things
Couldn't
like
agree
that.
more.
It's always pick one side or the other with absolutely no middle ground, and it's terrible for promoting any kind of productive discussion.
That's why I don't pick either.
She-Hulk caused controversy because that's the only thing that kind of approach is conducive to. Choose a hill and die on it. No one cares to try and see where the other side is coming from because the show itself doesn't care to do that. It takes sensitive topics and handles them with as much care as a crack addict going on their second week of withdrawals. Some
Yep.
people
It's, as I said, it's literally just a bullshit show meant to appeal to white cis women. I'm gonna be completely honest. Like, I can only imagine like a white cis woman, a fucking, you know, like fucking white knight on Twitter, actually enjoying this fucking show because men are trash. It's obvious that She-Hulk is gonna be so much better, so much infinitely better than Hulk instantly from getting her power just because she's a woman. She doesn't have to go through anything and she can lie her way out of anything. Why would that not appeal to them?
also took issue
Although they're like pretty much like murdering their fucking fan base.
with Jennifer seemingly contradicting herself by saying that she controls her anger when catcalled, despite very clearly not doing that earlier in the episode. But I don't think that's necessarily bad. It is contradictory, sure, but so are humans. We often don't operate based on how things are, but rather how we perceive them to be. And if that's what she believes, then that's how she'll describe herself. It's not necessarily indicative of bad writing, and could just be a character flaw that leads to development later in the story. Lord knows she could use more of those. As things are right now, she's just perfect at everything for seemingly no reason.
Exactly. Wait, my camera stopped working. Exactly. As I said, that there's like, they just built her perfectly. How am I supposed to relate to someone like that? I'm sorry for like saying this again, but like, how is that show supposed to actually appeal to anyone with more than like 5 brain cells? When it's literally like you just have like a perfectly built character from the beginning. That seems good at literally everything that you can think of. She somehow gets the power of Hulk. She doesn't get like, you know, her mind going fucking berserk when she transforms into the She-Hulk. She can completely control when she wants to transform. She has perfect balance for some reason. She's really good at gymnastics. She's apparently stronger than Hulk. She's smarter than Hulk. How am I supposed to relate to a character like this who doesn't go through any hardship?
And any problem she does have is caused by...
Yeah. I mean, like, so far, all the bad guys in this show have been men. Bad guys, a guy kind of being an asshole at work and she just taught him like few words and he went away. And 3 guys that literally just asked her name and she tried to murk them. They have to be the villain. Also don't forget about Hulk.
which
He is the villain for assuming that he has been through more shit than she has.
is also dehumanizing in its own way.
Yep.
Now, forgive me for being so bold, but women are still human. They're not infallible beings, and implying otherwise
So are men, though. The problem is that they're devaluating just men in general.
creates an
They're putting them pretty much under one category in this series. If there is a man in this series, from what I've seen, he's just gonna be infinitely bad.
unrealistic standard. It's 2022 and some of y'all niggas still think that women don't fart. So maybe they'll do something to bring her back down to planet Earth in the coming episodes. I'm hopeful, but I'm sure as hell not optimistic. Anyways, that's the video. I'll see y'all in the next one. Wait a minute. She was driving the car when they crashed? Scratch the whole video. Top G was right. Women really can't drive. Commentate W. Let's go.
Commentate W, let's go, man. What the fuck? Bro, he was right. Women should not get driving license. I'm joking, of course. Okay. Okay, really nice video, not gonna lie.